That was terrific, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A and having a conversation to follow. But I thought to complement, I can't do justice to what Dr. Koo just did with respect to full financial planning. But what I could talk about is the NIH loan repayment program, because this is a program where we are trying to attract people and create the future academics of our specialty. I think it's important to know that there are ways to not pay your own student debt, and without necessarily having to dictate where you practice. So certainly there are programs for going and practicing in under-resourced areas and other areas where they have needs and they'll pay off your debt to do that. But if you're interested in a career in research, you can get the NIH to pay off your loans. And I have done this. I had $150,000 worth of debt, which in today's world is sadly small, but I had $150,000 in debt, and I ended up writing a $650 check to finish off my loans. So let me tell you how I did it. Let me share my screen real quick. So the NIH loan repayment program, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, boy, I didn't know I had graphics. Here we go. So the mission of NIH loan repayment program is to retain you. Just think about it. They want you. They want, in particular, they want physician researchers. They do support non-clinician researchers as well, but not surprisingly, across all domains, there are less physicians willing to do research because of sometimes the financial implications of being a researcher. You can get up to $50,000 per year of qualified debt paid off. So these are 2-year grants. I'll talk about it in a second. But your first grant would pay off $100,000 of principal and interest in a 2-year period. And then there's a couple pathways. Most of you will probably be looking at the non-employed, which is what I was, an extramural grant. But they do, if you do end up going and working at the NIH, they have a program there. And this is busy, but I mean, what I will say, probably the most important piece of this is if and when it's your time, and that time really is the point at which you are a qualified fellow. So I will say, like, if you're a T32 fellow, you can qualify for this. Or if you're doing a research fellowship post-residency, or even as a structured long part of your residency, you can sometimes qualify. But it is important because of the long, for those who haven't been part of NIH funding, the application to funding period, it's a long stretch. And so you really need to be planned out in advance. And so anytime I have a T32 fellow, I'm always talking to them about it about a year in advance to say, okay, in order for you to benefit for this during your T32, which you would, you need to start applying now. So really going through the details. And I'm not going to try to tell you exactly how to do the application, but just kind of give you my sense. And the good news is if you get your first grant, you can get renewals all the way to the point at which your loans are essentially gone. So I had my primary grant, and I think 3 renewals because they used to pay less principal. And my last renewal, I actually wrote on a plane ride from LA to Detroit. I just took my most recent RO1 that had just been funded, and I repurposed it for the science. They already knew about me, and I had about that last $10,000 kind of go away. Let me go here. So who qualifies? Well, it's pretty broad, right? It's US citizen, extramural qualifying degree. I just included MD and DOs, but there are a number of other degrees that will qualify. And then there is a formula, your total debt to your income ratio. But if you start doing the math, it's pretty easy to qualify for many of the people I know who have borrowed throughout. And I believe this is still the rule today, but you have to be doing at least half of your time in research. That's why I said research fellowships would count, a T32 where you're 75%, or if you're on an instructional track or you start out as a junior faculty where half of your time is focused on research, half your time or more is focused on research, you qualify. As I said, up to $50,000 a year. So for example, if you have $200,000 in debt, you can get up to that $50,000 a year. The good news is when you go to do a renewal, that calculation's unimportant. So it's only for the first application does your income to debt ratio matter. They're 2 years in length. You can get a renewal of either 1 or 2 years, and you can keep renewing. And I will say right now, what they published online, I was just looking this morning, 50% of applications are funded. That's a staggering amount, 50%. And I think the hit rate's higher for physician researchers. And then the rate when I was doing it for renewals was about 75%, because not surprisingly, what does happen is people leave academics, people decide not to do research over time, so that pool gets smaller. But the great news is if you're progressing in your career, if you're now moving along, you've got a mentoring plan, you're doing research, you've got a plan, that becomes, like if you write a K award or you write a T32, that application can become the total structure of your loan repayment program. You get paid your loans get paid on a quarterly basis. They just send a check. Your lenders will apply it to the principal and interest. So the good news is with chunks like this, you just stop paying. You stop making your monthly payments because you're now exceeding the anticipated monthly payment by a lot. And then they'll just sort of adjust your payments according to your debt over time through renewals. Now, these are taxable loans. These come as a 1099, so in other words, they're taxable income. But the NIH loan repayment program sends money to the IRS. I always find this a bit comical, but the government pays the government, and they send 39%. So in other words, if you get a 2-year, $100,000 loan, they're going to send half of it. So they're going to send like $18,000 a year. I probably did that math wrong, but close to $18,000 a year to the Fed for as an IRS payment. All of it's taxable. So if you get one of these awards, you will have an increased income. So it could move you up a tax bracket. That is something that I definitely, in my early years, while I was paying this off, my tax bracket was higher than my income, and it was totally worth it because I was not making that $600 or $700 a month payment. So that's it. It's been a really good program. The other thing I'll say, I'll just stop sharing here about the loan repayment program. And then for those that are on, please, if you're able to, turn your cameras on because we'll have some conversation. Bonnie, you're welcome to come back in. The great part about these programs is that they're such a really great group of people. I'm so used to calling and you have a dial by number to figure out where you want to go, or you sit on hold for a long time. I was blown away the first time I called them and someone just answered the phone. They're an enthusiastic group of people who care a lot about students. They care a lot about junior faculty, and they really want to hear from you. And so when you call, they're going to help out.